Tonight, leaders and residential school survivors from the Kamloops Indian Band unearthed the results of ground-penetrating radar on the unmarked graves.
All Pallister right now is trying to do for all the people listening here, he's trying to deflect the resignation of Eileen Clark.
High drama over residential school reconciliation spills over on the banks of the Assiniboine River. And violent storms and wildfires ravage the landscape in the Rocky Mountains and the southern Ontario lowlands. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Eileen Clark is speaking out about why she resigned as Minister of Indigenous and Northern Relations in Manitoba. And Premier Brian Pallister shuffled his cabinet Thursday morning, renaming her department and a replacement minister. With more, here's Daryl Stranger.
Eileen Clark said in a Facebook post Thursday morning that transparency is required. I made the decision to step down from cabinet where I felt my voice and others are not being heard. Strong leadership is required to heal and bring our province and country together in harmony. It cannot be done by one individual. Inappropriate words and actions can be very damaging. The move came after comments made by Manitoba Premier Brian Pallister saying colonists came to build and not destroy. The Manitoba Premier didn't waste any time in appointing her successor and a new name for the role.
I, Alan Dean Lejamajer, do solemnly affirm that I will duly, faithfully, and to the best of my knowledge and ability, perform and fulfill the duties and requirements of the Office of Minister of Indigenous Reconciliation and Northern Affairs.
Selkirk MLA Alan Lajamadir was appointed Minister of Indigenous Reconciliation and Northern Relations, but that didn't sit well with Manitoba Métis President David Chartrand.
Lajamadir will not make any change at all.
He said the move is just deflection on Pallister's part.
All Pallister right now is trying to do for all the people listening here, he's trying to deflect the resignation of Eileen Clark and putting a Indigenous face in front of everybody saying, I believe in reconciliation, look at what I'm doing. And you know he's not doing nothing. So he's just trying to deflect. The bricks are falling down in his kingdom, and he knows there's going to be other conservatives that are going to come at him sooner or later because they know the damage he's caused not only to Indigenous people, but to the province of Manitoba.
Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
In a press conference just a few minutes after being sworn in, Lajamadir made remarks regarding residential schools. Afterwards, ManitobaNDP leader Wab Kinew stepped in, denouncing what he said.
The residential school system was designed to take Indigenous children and give them the skills and abilities they would need to fit into society as it moved forward. So,
do you think that was the policy? Do you think that was the intention of the federal government to do that? To just give them
I am an honorary witness for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I listen to the stories of the survivors, and I cannot accept you saying what you just said about residential schools. It was the express intent of residential schools to kill the Indian in the child. It is not cultural relativism, it is not revisionist history for us to say that that was wrong. Any right-minded person at the time should have known that it was wrong. Many did know and speak up against it. And if you are to take your job that you've been appointed to by Mr. Pallister seriously, starting today, you have to change that.
I look forward to working with you in the future as a leader of the office.
We'll give you a chance, but you can't be out here defending residential schools if you want to work with Indigenous communities. Killing the Indian in the child was wrong. That's what they talked about at the time when they were started, when they were run. We all know that that was wrong. So you have to move past that.
Lajamadir has since released a statement saying he misspoke. Later in the afternoon, the Manitoba PC caucus tweeted, quote, "We are all committed to meaningful progress on reconciliation." The political showmanship of storming into someone else's press conference to bully a minister who was sworn in only 10 minutes earlier does nothing to advance that reconciliation, unquote. That response, too, was roundly criticized. Less than an hour later, the PC caucus deleted the tweet. A northern Manitoba community is calling for urgent support to help deal with a mental health crisis. Recent deaths and other incidents of self-harm have triggered a state of emergency on Tk'emlúps, Cree Nation. The community located on Split Lake says it needs immediate mental wellness supports and long-term solutions to deal with the crisis, which it says has reached a breaking point. Problems with drugs and alcohol are said to be contributing factors. The community says it's reached out to several groups, including both the provincial and federal governments. To election news now, there will be a new Grand Chief for the Cree Nation government in Quebec. According to the James Bay Communication Society, Abel Bosom has dropped out of the race after receiving 29.5% of the vote. Grand Chief Bosom has represented 9 Cree communities in Quebec for the last 4 years. Prior to that, he also worked for nearly 2 decades as a negotiator for the Cree Nation government. Because no candidate received more than 50% of the vote, no winner was declared in the race. Instead, there will be another election between the 2 remaining candidates on July 29th. Kamloops Residential School released their final report today. Survivors released their report on unmarked graves. Those details and more are coming up. Welcome back. Kamloops Residential School was the beginning of searches for graves across the country. The shocking news came in May this year, and a lot has happened since, as APTN's Michelle Karlinzig takes us through it all.
It's been almost 2 months since the remains of 215 children were found at the former Indian Residential School in Kamloops, BC. Since then, the discovery has sparked an awakening across Canada and international attention. Survivors are retelling their stories to shed light on Canada's dark history.
For breakfast was lumpy, uncooked mush with sour milk lots of times. The food truck used to come in at 5 in the morning. We could smell all that bread, and we couldn't have bread half the time, and we were so hungry.
Since late May, over 1,000 potential remains have been detected at former sites in Canada using ground-penetrating radar. The largest site, Muskoday First Nation in Saskatchewan, where they found 751 unmarked graves.
The oral stories of our elders, of our survivors, and friends of our survivors have told us stories that knew these burials were here.
The Indigenous community across Canada has banded together during this traumatic reminder of Canada's history, making their mark on Catholic churches, marching in solidarity, and toppling over colonial statues. Efforts continue for the rest of residential school sites in Canada, with the federal government announcing $27 million towards memorializing and searching for sites, along with some provinces committing their own money. Based on death records, the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation estimates that over 4,000 children died at residential schools in Canada, but says the total is likely much higher. Michelle Karlinzig, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The chief of the Muskoday First Nation in central Saskatchewan says she's angry and hurt that someone put up a White Lives Matter sign along with racist insults in the community. Chief Ava Bear says witnesses saw a non-member, non-Indigenous man park his car and put up this sign along with a pair of running shoes. The sign was put up Wednesday morning, and witnesses called the RCMP. The sign was taken down later that day. Chief Bear says that the person responsible comes forward. The community is willing to work with them to show why the act was so offensive. Bear also says the sign and the symbolism of the running shoes is extremely hurtful and triggering for her and the members of the Muskoday First Nation.
It's a mockery that someone would hang a pair of shoes to this sign when everyone knows that it's the symbolism that has been used for the recovery of these hundreds of children's bodies all across Canada. And we know that there are going to be more found still in other student residences that are still left to be searched.
Now to another installment of Stories of Survival. APTN's Tina House meets with an elder who says the federal government needs to take more responsibility for the damage caused by residential schools.
This empty field holds a lot of painful memories for Carol LaValle. It's where the Maryvale Residential School once stood until it was torn down in 1996.
The playground was right here. There were some swings here. And to this day, people swear that there's the swings on a calm day would swing. So there are spirits here, children's spirits playing in the playground.
Now 70 years old, Carol LaValle says she's glad the former school was torn down because for her, it was an evil place.
Well, we could have kept it as a historical site. We could have kept it as a maybe office building. We could have used it in a capacity that would benefit the band. But the horrific memories so many people had of things that happened in that school overpowered our sense of keeping it. And when that ball hit that school, no hard feelings came out of me. I was happy to see that school fall down.
Back in those days, Carol and the others were not referred to as their names, but were given numbers. She was number 39. How did that make you feel to be referred to as a number?
Well, you know what? It took away our identity, and it gave us, I don't know if it gave us any comfort knowing that we're a number now. We're not a person.
The finding of the 751 unmarked graves here in front of the former residential school has triggered her trauma.
There was no graves back here. My ancestors lie back here. Maybe my great-great-grandfather's laying here. Where? I don't know. You know, maybe my little brother and my little sister that I don't know where, maybe they're here.
And right in this exact location, survivors say that there used to be a skating rink with students not knowing that there were unmarked graves below, including Ricky Yakachuk, who attended here in 1985.
Like I grew up here when I was young, but I used to play around on back here, but I didn't know there was graves out here, and it's kind of hurts to see all this.
Carol says it was corporal punishment at the Maryvale Residential School.
You know, they bruised us, they ripped our ears, they created bumps on our heads. You know, they basically abused us. And then there was some of us that were unlucky that were abused further than physical.
LaValle says the federal government needs to be held responsible for creating these horrific institutions.
The policy that developed by McDonald or whoever did it, it was developed to exterminate us. And I want the people to know that now we're starting to feel and see the effects of how wrong that policy was. How wrong. Just look at all around us. Look at our people that are suffering with addictions and lack of parenting skills. That's from that policy. You know, that's from not allowing us to live the life we're supposed to be living.
Carol now has a large family and eventually became a child protection worker to help others like her. She is a powerful pillar in the community and stands strong despite all she has been through.
I no longer want to be called a survivor. I want to be called a victorious being. They may have dampened my spirit long ago, but they didn't kill it. I'm victorious in the sense that I'm still here. I know how to love. I love myself, I love my family, I love my community. Never mind, survivor, I'm victorious.
Tina House, APTN National News, Kamloops First Nation.
And the National Indian Residential School Crisis Line is available for survivors and others who might need support. That number is 1-866-925-4419. Well, it's been another wicked weather day across much of the country, leading to more wildfires and a tornado in southern Ontario. Details after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. After a long day, Kenneth Stonechild captured this shot of the sun going down over the nature trails near Yorkton, Saskatchewan. Thanks for sharing that, Kenneth. Beautiful picture. If you want to be featured during our photo of the day segment, email your picture and the story behind it to share@aptn.ca. And before we get into our weather forecast, a tornado appears to have ripped through a Barrie, Ontario neighborhood this afternoon, causing significant damage. The storm touched down around 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time this afternoon, shortly after Environment Canada first issued a tornado warning for a wide part of that region, about 2 hours north of Toronto. Footage here from CP24's meteorologist Chris Potter said the storm appeared to be on the ground for about 10 to 15 minutes. And police are asking people to stay out of the area if they don't live there.
Just after 2:30, the city of Barrie was struck by a very violent weather system. That weather system came in across the south end into the southeast portion of the city. That is an area that borders onto the town of Innisfil. Substantial damage has been seen and observed by first responders who have emerged into the area. The Barrie Police Service has responded with a very significant police presence in the area, and we are currently being assisted by the Ontario Provincial Police. We're presently going door to door with our emergency service partners, and we're checking for any injuries. We do know at this point that there have been a number of people that have sustained injuries as a result of what is believed to have been a tornadic event here in the city of Barrie.
Raging wildfires in BC's Caribou region have triggered several evacuations, impacting nearly 1,500 properties. The evacuation order covers roughly 1,000 properties south of 100 Mile House and almost 500 in the Cannon Lake area. The entire town of 100 Mile House and Cache Creek are under evacuation alerts, with residents warned to be ready to leave at a moment's notice. There are more than 300 fires burning across BC. 41 of them started in the past 2 days. Now to take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 26 in St. John's, 28 for Charlottetown, 20 in Nain, showers, and 22 for Happy Valley Goose Bay. 26 with showers in Montreal, sunny, and 22 in Chibougamau. 22 for Sault Ste. Marie, cloudy, and 26 in North Bay. 28 for Thunder Bay, 32 in Sioux Lookout. 29 and showers for God's Lake and Norway House. 33 in Winnipeg, Gimli, Dauphin, and Brandon. 34 in Regina, 31 in Saskatoon. 29 in Meadow Lake, cloudy, and 25 for La Ronge. Cooler in northern Alberta, 16 in High Level, 17 in rain in Peace River. 33 for Medicine Hat, sunny, and 30 in Lethbridge. 20 in Vancouver, sunny, and 30 for Kamloops. 13 with showers for Fort Nelson, 17 in rain in Smithers. 22 in Old Crow, Dawson, and Mayo. 16 in Yellowknife, 19 for Norman Wells. 2 in Sax Harbor, 10 for Pawlatuck. 13 in showers in Baker Lake, 5 for Cambridge Bay. 3 in Resolute, 6 in Igloo Lake. In Saskatchewan, a solar-powered greenhouse is almost up and running at the high school in the far northern community of Île-Lacrosse. And as APTN's Priscilla Wolf tells us, the students aren't just learning about solar energy, they also helped build it.
We want them to learn about solar energy, and and possibly some of our students will look at careers in this sectors.
The mayor of Île-Lacrosse, Dwayne Favel, says the community hired WDusk Energy to combine traditional with modern ways by running their high school greenhouse by solar power.
We built a greenhouse a couple of years ago, and we needed to find ways to save energy or at least be efficient.
It's a great opportunity for these students. The greenhouse grows produce and the students help maintain the greenhouse and maintain tradition.
For a northern community like Île-Lacrosse, it's all about food security and certainly, traditionally I think, all families in Île-Lacrosse certainly had their own backyard gardens.
David Isaac is the president of WDusk Energy, Inc., that operates out of Vancouver. Isaac is Mi'kmaq, and the company is Indigenous owned and operated. He says adding solar panels and teaching the youth about solar energy goes beyond traditional teaching.
This instantly modernizes a community. This is already adding to a community that's already put in a lot of very good infrastructure, but this is just a continuation of really what an overall long-term vision is happening here at Île-Lacrosse.
The greenhouse at Île-Lacrosse High School is prepped and ready and should be on the grid for the new school year.
The plan with the Île-Lacrosse School Division is that the students will be offered a accredited program, to work with the greenhouse.
Mayor Favel says the students helped install the solar panels and worked with Isaac, and he thinks it sparked interest among the students.
We're hopeful, and they are extremely engaged. They're interested to learn about solar energy.
Favel says that this solar greenhouse is just one phase of the overall plan to incorporate solar power into the community. Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
And that is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Thursday. You can find much more over on our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.